Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, the latest on the City of Victoria's attempt to rescind a boil water notice, what their timeline looks like, and the next steps.
And a deadly shooting outside a Houston nightclub, what police say happened and who they're still looking for.
Plus, a major shift may be coming in U.S. policy on Russia, what President Trump is now signaling, and why NATO could be part of the plan.
For us, we're looking for a drying trend, hotter and more sun, but for West Texas, boy, they just can't get a break. Flash flood watches from San Antonio out to the west, and you can see they had anywhere from 8 to 10 inches of rain today alone. We'll have more on the forecast coming up in a moment.
And Full Force Gymnastics did multiple placers from this past weekend's Stars and Stripes Championships in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We'll see who some of these placers are later on in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Shauna Curry.
And I'm Trenton Whiting, and for Don Brubaker.
Well, city crews are working to push highly chlorinated water through Victoria's system, a key step in ending the boil water notice. They have already flushed from the plant to the water towers and are now moving through the broader system. The plant is pumping out 16 million gallons a day. That's about twice the normal amount. Now, here's the timeline according to the city. They say that they were hoping for chlorine testing yesterday, test for bacteria today, and if all goes well, the notice would be lifted as early as tomorrow. Wednesday would be their backup plan. City officials say they expect to have an update later today on any samples that have been taken. So this brings us to today's viewer poll. How much are you spending on bottled water daily due to the boil water notice? We want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to share. Anywhere from you're not spending anything on bottled water all the way up to $50 or more.
Daily?
A case is a little over $5-ish, depending on what brand. So on average, our viewers say they're spending about $20 a day on bottled water in order to cook, drink, any just daily activities. So continue voting and we'll have another look on 25 News Now at 10.
Well, the Victoria City Council is meeting tomorrow night, and at the top of that agenda is an update on the ongoing boil water notice. They'll also talk about officially closing off a small section of East Staten Avenue next to the railroad tracks after nearby landowners signed off on the idea. They'll also discuss a possible $650,000 facelift for Meadow Lane Park, with the city pitching in half, plus updates on the latest legislative session and a look ahead at capital improvement projects. A new Victoria County Fire Marshal is sworn in. Commissioners unanimously approved the appointment of Dan Porter this morning, with County Judge Ben Zeller swearing him in right after. Porter's no stranger to public safety. He's been serving since age 17, starting in the U.S. Navy as a firefighter and military police officer. He's worked in both Waller and Fort Bend counties and holds certifications in everything from arson investigation to plans examination. In addition to his fire marshal duties, Porter also plans to be proactive with public engagement.
I do plan on putting together some initiatives and some plans to get out and do community events and help educate the public on fire prevention.
Porter also plans to work as a liaison with all 11 county volunteer fire departments to help each one have access to the latest equipment and training. Well, hopefully they're not dealing with fires right now with all the rain that came in, but right now it's pretty hot, humid, and hazy, which basically describes what we're going to see this week. That's
right. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez for a look at why we're seeing this kind of forecast here in the Crossroads. Mac.
Yes, as a matter of fact, for us, the Saharan dust is back, and that's going to shut down our rain chance. This is the rainfall that we had today, so a little bitty shower here, a little bitty shower there. That's where they got the rainfall. But look at this, what I wanted to tell you. In the last 12 hours, right here, there's Eagle Pass, Del Rio, Laredo. They had 8 to 10 inches of rain here, including the Guadalupe River. So now it's the Frio River that's in flood, and that's all going to be rolling downstream as just torrential biblical rains continue falling in the hill country and western areas. Now, what about us? Well, we've got a couple of hot, steamy days, but then the tropics get interesting. We'll be talking about that coming up in a moment.
Search and rescue efforts are back on today after heavy rain and flooding hit parts of central Texas over the weekend. The storms temporarily stopping recovery efforts Sunday because of the ongoing flood danger.
Yes, this after deadly floods swept through the Texas Hill Country on the 4th of July. Ivan Rodriguez has the latest from Kerrville.
Search and recovery efforts are continuing today. The Kerr County Sheriff says he'll believe they'll keep going strong for the next month or two, possibly up to 6 months. Commissioners in Kerr County also held their first meeting since the catastrophic flooding.
Heavy rain over the weekend complicating search and rescue efforts in central Texas.
The search continues. Unfortunately, we lost about a half or three-quarter of a day yesterday to the river going up. But like I said, like y'all said, I've been assured by the governor and the president, we will have the resources to get the job done.
More than 2,000 people from multiple agencies are deployed to assist in the recovery efforts, according to the Kerr County Sheriff.
And search and rescue remains our top priority. But we've moved on to also include recovery. And that's where we had the people out in the river basin doing a lot of work. We're trying to get a handle on things. So just be patient with it as we go forward.
As the community grapples with the July 4th flooding that killed more than 130 people, including 27 campers and counselors at Camp Mystic in Hunt, Texas, messages of appreciation and concerns over rebuilding continue.
I would love to have the ability to understand where businesses can look for assistance. Ourselves, we lost several $1 million in this disaster, as well as everybody else.
This tragic event has proven the greatness of humanity. Please pray for the families who were affected. Thank you for blessing Kerr County with kind hearts and love of mankind.
It has been more than a week since a victim was found alive. Nearly 150 people across the state are still missing, 140 in Kerr County alone. And during the first meeting of city officials since the floods, one council member requested the city to provide additional security for staff members citing threats, but she did not elaborate on the specific threats and asked the city to be proactive. In Kerrville, Texas, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
An investigation is underway after 2 people were killed in a shooting outside a Houston nightclub late Sunday. Police say just before midnight, someone in a vehicle approached the crowd outside the club and opened fire. Police say 7 people were shot. 1 victim died at the scene and a second person died at the hospital. Police do not have a description of the suspect and are trying to figure out what led to the shooting. A fiery Republican Senate primary is heating up in Texas. Senator John Cornyn has outraised Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton by $1 million. Cornyn brought in $3.9 million to Paxton's $2.9 million between April and June. Paxton is challenging Cornyn in what's shaping up to be one of next year's most hotly contested primaries. Meanwhile, Paxton's campaign faces legal baggage and personal turmoil. His wife, State Senator Angela Paxton, recently filed for divorce, accusing him of adultery. And he was impeached last year over abuse of office and a whistleblower payout. President Donald Trump is expressing growing frustration with Russia's war in Ukraine. The permanent ceasefire he promised to achieve on his first day in office remains elusive.
Last week marked Russia's largest drone assault in Ukraine since the start of its full-scale invasion. Today, Trump appears poised to take action. Amy Kiley reports on new consequences that could be in store for Moscow.
I am very disappointed with President Putin.
President Donald Trump says he might make a major announcement about Russia today. He's hosting the NATO Secretary General. Analysts say Trump might be warming to that alliance as he cools toward Russian President Vladimir Putin.
I thought he was somebody that meant what he said, and he'll talk so beautifully and then he'll bomb people at night. We don't like that.
Trump says he's reached a deal to send weapons to Ukraine. He says NATO will pay for them and handle distribution.
Once the Ukrainians have the ability to bring the fighting to Russia in real and sustained ways, Putin will have questions to answer to his own people.
Meanwhile, a bipartisan group of lawmakers is pushing a related bill. It lets Trump levy a 500% tariff on imports from countries that buy Russian uranium, gas, or oil.
A turning point regarding Russia invasion of Ukraine is coming.
Trump's latest rhetoric, comes about 5 months after the Ukrainian president visited Washington. That's what a White House official says Trump told him to leave early after a tense Oval Office exchange.
You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards, but without us, you don't have any cards.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 6, how a Supreme Court ruling on mass layoffs may change the future of education in America.
And college loans are changing, and it could cost you. How new limits on federal borrowing will affect students and parents.
Behind closed doors, too many voices go unheard. In Breaking the Silence, domestic violence on the Crossroads.
People who are going through this know that they are not alone and that they can get the help they need and the help that they deserve, that they don't need to be scared. There is people that care about them.
Amaya Norman brings their stories to light and shows how our community is stepping up to help. A 25 News Now Extra you can't afford to miss.
Reshape the future of the education department. On Monday, the court allowed the Trump administration to move forward with mass layoffs, lifting a lower court order that had blocked the plan. The decision came in an unsigned order, with the justices saying the plan can proceed while legal challenges continue. The three liberal justices dissented, with Justice Sonia Sotomayor warning the ruling could undermine the Constitution's separation of powers. The Trump administration argues it isn't shutting down the department, just downsizing it. But critics say the cuts could gut the department's ability to function. Big changes are coming to how students and parents will borrow federal money to help pay for college. Under President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill, recently signed into law, there will be limits on borrowing for federal student loans and a reduction in the number of repayment options you could choose.
In today's Consumer Watch, Jen Sullivan explains those changes and your options to finance higher education.
The average cost of college tuition and fees at public institutions has risen about 141% over the last 20 years. Right now, nearly 43 million people have federal student loan debt, according to the U.S. government. If you're taking out a loan to pay for college, there's some big changes for students and parents.
You're not going to be able to borrow as much as you could in the past.
Michelle Singletary is a personal finance columnist at the Washington Post. She says President Donald Trump's Big Beautiful Bill overhauls borrowing for families. Under the Parent Plus program, parents will be able to borrow only $20,000 per year or $65,000 total per undergraduate student in federal loans.
I've dealt with a lot of students and parents who have borrowed way too much for college.
Under the Repayment Assistance Plan, borrowers who take out loans after July 1st of 2026 will be allowed to pay based on income.
There's sort of a new standard payment, which will give people some people longer to pay the loans, which means their monthly payments will be lower, but you're going to pay more in interest.
Borrowers whose federal student loan interest payments were halted under the Biden administration will now have to pay that interest beginning August 1st.
That break is ending, and you need to get in contact with your loan servicer as soon as possible.
There are other ways to get financial help besides federal loans. Some of those options include scholarships, grants, and work-study jobs. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Democratic states are suing to unfreeze nearly $7 billion in education funding the Trump administration has held up. The money is meant to support low-income students, immigrant learners, and teacher programs in underserved communities. More than 20 attorneys general and several governors are challenging the administration's decision to pause 6 federal education programs while it reviews their alignment with policy priorities. State officials warn that these delays are harming students and schools that depend on this funding. Mental health programs could bear the brunt of $600 million in federal cuts to Texas schools. You can read this full Texas Tribune article at crossroadstoday.com.
We are looking at a very important map, as you saw right there. A huge bullseye of flooding rain that's occurring out in western areas. For us, we had a little sun. We're going to get more sun. In fact, it's going to warm the temperature up. But we'll be talking about those incredible rains that keep falling out west of us. All that coming up in a moment. It's really amazing how we, had a fairly nice day, lots of sun, a little bit of shower activity in the afternoon, but west of us, it is just still coming down. It's almost to biblical proportions out there because they had about 8 to 10 inches of rain today alone. We'll talk about it in a moment. It's 90 degrees right about now, not a big problem. We had a high of 94 today, which is actually right about where we're supposed to be this time of year. Obviously, no shower activity hit our rain bucket. You can see the city here, and you can see how we do have a few little sprinkles around here, but most of the sea breeze stuff, remember, that generally moves inland or to the north, okay? And that is where it is right about now. In fact, that's a sea breeze line right about there, all right? But look at this. Tremendous rain and rain and rain and more rain, and all of this was last night and this morning out in western areas, and it's not over with just yet because we've got this other cluster coming through that region as well. So now, in addition to having flooding on the Guadalupe way up there by Hunt, today we started getting flooding along the Frio River. In fact, Concan is going to have a wall of water coming in at about 12 to 15 feet. So Concan, Lakey, and all of those communities south on the Frio are going to be affected, and then it'll cross over the I-10 corridor right about there, and then actually go into Choke Canyon. So this is great for the Choke Canyon and for our water. It's just the folks are really being inconvenienced dramatically by all of that. There's the city, and there's a little sprinkles that came through to the east of us. You can see they had some rain there, but this is, of course, the bullseye. You can see, let's see, this is Highway 90. Here's Uvalde. So up here, they're looking at 5 inches of rain. And right here, 8 to 10 inches of rain. And not only that, we're getting flooding along the Rio Grande. When was the last time I said that? So we're, in fact, down in Laredo, it's going to be up at 10 or 12 feet. So they're going to have some minor lowland flooding along the river there. So it's just been amazing. Now, the good news is that tomorrow we expect garden variety showers. No severe weather is expected, hopefully. The shower chance for us is just at a minimum 20%, and that's about it. Now, things get interesting in the Atlantic. Right about here off the coast of Florida, we have an invest area. This is a potential development of a tropical system. Right about now, the forecast models take it across Florida with heavy rain, keep it very close to the land, so it's really not going to have much time to develop. But at this point in time, it looks like central Gulf Coast is going to get the majority of that as it starts getting picked up and moving inland. We're going to get some residual moisture sort of drifting in our area, but that's later in the week. The Saharan dust. Now, this is one of the reasons why we're going to get sunny and hot. The Saharan dust is going to sort of reestablish itself over our area beginning Tuesday and on into Wednesday. And that's why the rain chance for the tropical system is going to be right about there. So very interesting development across the state of Texas and North America. All of this just our wacky weather that we now have. Well, let's take a look at Port Lavaca tomorrow. Lots of sunshine, looking good, about 93. In Cuero, you're getting up to about 93 as well. So 20% tomorrow, and then just hot and dusty all the way through. Then by the weekend, we get that surge of remnant moisture coming in from that thing coming into the central Gulf. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. And we'll toss it back to Shauna.
All right, thank you, Mac. Well, now we send it over to Max Williams for a look at our sports.
Yeah, Sean, I mentioned Full Force Gym there earlier. They had a lot of getting placers that did well. Also, Cuero Track Select Club also got some top placers as well in the TEF Regional. So find out who some of these as well, as long as Full Force coming up in sport. This past weekend, Full Force Gymnastics had great representation at the Stars and Stripes National Championships out there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And again, they had players from Harper Majeski became national champion out there in level 6, 9, and then that 10-year-old double mini national champion. Again, with that win now for Harper, that extends Coach Chad Ganaway's streak of becoming a national champion for 25 years in a row. Yes, everyone. They also had other places as well, and Taylor Kohler finishing in 5th place, Mackenzie Cantrell finishing in 7th place, and then Riley O'Connor 9th. All that same age group, and then Corey Weinheimer, she won silver there in level double mini, and Isabella Briggs and Sarah Hughes finished in that same group as well. And then also more placers, had a lot more, right? But if you want to see that whole list, right, just go out to our website there, crossroadstoday.com/sports. Now over to some more accomplishments, but over to the track where this past weekend, Cuero Track Select Club competed in the TAF Regionals in San Antonio. They did really, really well. They had a lot of placers just like Full Force did. They were from the 8U and the girls 4x100 meter team. They won gold. And then Ava Perez, we mentioned her last week. They won 100 and 200 meter dashes for 14U. And then last week's athlete of the week there in Gracie Martinez, she got 2nd place in the 800 meter and then 3rd in high jump. And then Paisley Yancey, who was huge there for Cuero last season out there, made it all the way to state. She got gold in high jump there as well. And for the boys team, you got 60 London Basha, won gold there in the 400 meter. And then Bradley Hill, mentioned him last week, got gold in the 110 meter hurdles and second in long jump. And then the 10U boys, their 4x100 meter team, got gold as well. So a lot of golds, a lot of bronzes, a lot of silvers. But if you want to see the full list, just like Full Force, you just got to go to crossfieldtoday.com/sports. And now some big news tonight over to Little League softball, where Industrial Minor Girls softball team is just one win away from going over to the regionals. And again, they play Washington County there tonight. Industrial only needs one more win, while their opponent, Washington County, needs to win game 1, and then they'll have to play game 2 later. That'll be 20 minutes after the conclusion of game 1 if that's the case. So we're going to give you those highlights later tonight for 25 News Now Sports at 10 p.m. See if, again, for Industrial girls can make history there later tonight. Over to volleyball, where star returner and Goliad volleyball star libero Carolyn Youngblood. She's representing Goliad in the TGCA All-Star Game. That's hosted by the Texas Girls Coach Association. This game will be tomorrow night. It'll be there at 7:30 p.m. in Arlington, Texas. A tremendous honor that, again, recognize her talent on the court, also her leadership she shows. Because, again, she doesn't just do volleyball. She also did tennis, if you don't remember, there back in the spring. So, again, congrats her being in this prestigious All-Star Game out in Arlington there tomorrow night. And now, how about the Generals, right? Well, you thought they're playing tonight. Well, no, they are off, but the coverage keeps going, because later tonight for 25 News Now Sports at 10 p.m., sports boy Roy Robinson is highlighting the first-year dance team for the Generals and their 4-star dance team and how they began. So make sure to see this 25 News Now extra piece. Will be later tonight for 25 News Now at 10. Over to the NBA Summer League, where the San Antonio Spurs, they face the Utah Jazz tonight. Earlier today, and again, looking, and that's actually tonight, part of me. That game will start at 7:30 p.m. at the Thomas and Mack Center. We'll see if the Spurs keep their dominance going over this summer. See how Dylan Harper does as well for the Spurs. Over to the Rockets. They actually played the Atlanta Hawks earlier today. They took care of business there in the NBA Summer League. They won't be back in action there until Thursday. That'll be at 7 p.m. versus the Portland Trail Blazers. And that's going to do it here in sports. Trent and Shauna, back to you.
Thank you, Max, and we're back in a moment. He may be small, but he's making a big difference. How a tortoise is helping police connect with their community.
The police department in Sierra Vista, Arizona has a special new officer. Yep, meet Bowser, the
Bowser,
tortoise.
that's crazy.
That reminds me of
Tortoise.
Mario Kart. Bowser
Exactly.
driving around. But he was found wandering the streets last year. No one ended up claiming him, so the department stepped up to adopt him. You know, a tortoise as a police officer. But he's got badge number 643.
Oh, wow. What's your badge number?
During the summer, Bowser lives outside in the station's courtyard. When it's cold, he's taken inside to stay warm. You may be surprised to learn that tiny tortoise does actually make a big impact, though. The police chief says he encourages officers to take a break and feed Bowser because watching the animal eat has a calming effect.
Wow.
Why do
I
you
think
call
just
him a
watching
tiny
him walk
tortoise?
around, I don't know.
Why'd you call him a tiny tortoise?
Because he's a small tortoise.
That's a little small
He
guy.
looks pretty big to me.
And they also use him to help connect with the community, you know,
that's pretty cool.
slowing down in school zones.
Okay,
you know,
that's
you
really
put the
cool.
tortoise down in the school zone and kind of remind people.
That's important.
He's a traffic cop.
Yeah,
Gotta
that's a great tool
humanize
they
it.
have there.
The traffic cop. Well, folks, we're looking for some drying and warming weather. We should be getting up into the mid-90s for the next couple of days. Our rain chance really is going to go down to, you know, negative numbers. So we don't have a problem until about the weekend when a little bit of that Gulf moisture starts rolling back into our area.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you for joining us.
We'll see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10. Until then, have a great evening.